Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Wealth doesn't begin in your wallet. It begins in your mind. The difference between those who struggle for every dollar and those who build lasting abundance is not always talent, luck, or background. It's the mindset. It's the set of beliefs and habits that govern how you think, act, and respond to the world around you. And the good news is, mindsets can be changed, shaped, and developed. You don't have to be born into the right family or attend the most expensive university. You don't need to wait for permission. You simply need to learn how wealthy people think, how they make decisions, how they approach problems, how they value time, and how they view money. And then apply those principles to your own life with discipline and consistency. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 12 essential traits that make up what I call the millionaire mindset. These are not theories or wishful thoughts. These are patterns, real, practical, proven ideas that have changed lives across the world. And they can change yours too if you're willing to not just listen, but apply them. We'll talk about habits, discipline, influence, risk, and money. But even more than that, we'll talk about how to shift your thinking so that success becomes your new standard, not the exception. Stay with me for the next few minutes as I show you how to develop a mindset that attracts wealth and holds on to it. Let's dive in. Number 1. Decide that you deserve more. Everything begins with a decision, not a wish, not a vague hope, a decision. You have to decide once and for all that your current situation is not where you're going to stay, that you were meant for more. Until that moment comes, no strategy will matter. You'll hear good advice, but it won't take root. You'll see opportunity, but you'll let it pass. Because deep down, you haven't convinced yourself that you deserve more than just getting by. The road to wealth doesn't begin with money. It begins with mindset. If you don't believe you're worthy of success, you'll never reach for it. You'll settle for whatever comes your way. You'll tolerate poor habits, low standards, and average results. But once you decide that more is possible, and more importantly, that you are capable of achieving it, everything starts to change. You begin to see possibilities where you once saw problems. You start showing up differently. You start expecting better from yourself. Think about Les Brown, a man labeled educably mentally retarded as a child. No one expected much from him. Not his teachers, not society, not even his early employers. But Les made a decision that changed everything. He decided that his circumstances did not define his future. He believed he was destined for more. That decision led him to become one of the most powerful motivational speakers of all time. Not because someone gave him permission, but because he gave it to himself. You see, life doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you believe you're worth. And you teach the world how to treat you by what you accept. If you accept mediocrity, that's exactly what you'll get. But when you raise your standards and make the internal shift from I can't to why not me, you open the door to a new life. So here's the question. Have you made the decision yet? The one that says, I'm not going to live small anymore. I'm not going to keep making excuses. I'm done settling for less. Because until that switch flips, nothing outside will change. But once it does, the world starts moving in your favor. Make that decision. Not someday, today. Number 2. Define what wealth means to you before you chase success. Make sure you've defined it. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make. They spend years running towards someone else's version of wealth. More money, more stuff, more status, only to arrive and feel empty. That's because true wealth isn't just about money. It's about freedom. It's about peace of mind. It's about doing what matters most to you, without being shackled by stress or limitation. You've got to sit down and ask yourself, what does wealth really mean to me? For some, it's a bank account full of investments. For others, it's time. Time with family. Time to travel. Time to create. For someone else, it might be the ability to contribute to causes they care about. If you're not clear about what you're building, you'll get caught in the trap of comparison. And let me tell you, comparison is a thief. It robs you of joy, clarity, and direction. Let me tell you about Karen Dillard, a quiet librarian from Texas. She never made more than a modest income, never drove a luxury car, and never once wore an expensive watch. But Karen made a decision early in her life. She defined wealth as the ability to choose how she spent her time. So she lived simply, saved consistently, and started buying small rental properties in her 30s. She managed them wisely, reinvested the income, and by the time she turned 55, She had built enough passive income to retire early. But she didn't retire to do nothing. She spent her days volunteering at children's reading centers and mentoring young women in her community. By her definition, she was wealthy. And by mine, too. Karen never chased someone else's dream. She got clear on what mattered to her, and she built a life that reflected that clarity. That's the power of defining your own wealth. When you're clear on your values, your decisions become easier. You know when to say yes, when to say no, and what to ignore completely. You stop trying to impress people who don't even notice, and you start building a life that actually fulfills you. So take time to define it. Write it down. Describe what a wealthy life looks like to you. Not to your neighbors, not to your peers, but to you. Once you've defined it, you can build toward it, and every step you take will feel right. Not because it's flashy or loud, but because it's aligned with who you really are. When you know what wealth means to you, you stop running in circles. You begin to move with direction. And when your direction is clear, your energy becomes powerful. Number 3, take full responsibility for your life. If you want to build a millionaire mindset, this step is non-negotiable. You've got to take full responsibility for your life. Not partial responsibility, not convenient responsibility, full responsibility. That means everything you have or don't have is a direct result of your thoughts, your decisions, and your actions. And until you accept that, you'll always be stuck waiting for someone else to change your life. You see, blame is easy. It gives you a temporary excuse, but it robs you of permanent progress. People blame their boss, their parents, the economy, the government, their past. But as long as you're blaming, you're not building, because you can't improve what you don't own. If it's someone else's fault, then it's someone else's fix. But if it's yours, if you take ownership, then you have the power to change it. Look at Jim Carrey. Before he was the world-famous actor and comedian, he was a teenager living out of a van. His father had lost his job, and the family hit hard times. But Jim didn't spend his life resenting the situation. He made a decision. If he was going to rise, it was going to be on his shoulders. He wrote himself a check for $10 million and dated it for the future. He carried it in his wallet, visualized his goals, and kept working on his craft, even when no one was watching. And eventually, he earned that check and far more. Now, maybe you're not sleeping in a van, but we all face moments where we feel behind, overlooked, or unlucky. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can complain, or you can take command. You can point fingers, or you can roll up your sleeves. The choice is always yours. And the sooner you choose ownership, the faster your life will start to move in the right direction. Responsibility isn't about guilt, it's about power. When you say, "This is mine to fix," you no longer wait for conditions to change. You become the one who changes them. You stop looking for heroes and start becoming one. And here's the beauty. When you take responsibility for your failures, you also take credit for your wins. You build confidence because you know you earned it. Start today. Look at your finances, your relationships, your routines, your results, and own every piece of it. Not to judge, but to improve. Take inventory without excuses. Because when you take full responsibility, you put both hands on the steering wheel of your life, and that's when things really start to move. Number 4, train your habits to match your goals. Success is not something you chase once. It's something you do daily. And that means your habits must align with your goals. You can't say you want financial freedom and then spend every dollar you earn. You can't claim you want to build a business and then waste hours scrolling through distractions. The truth is, your habits are either pulling you toward your dreams or dragging you further away. It's not about motivation. It's about discipline. Motivation comes and goes, but habits stick. And if you train the right habits, you can move forward even on the days when you don't feel like it. That's the secret. High achievers understand. They don't rely on inspiration. They rely on routines. They've trained themselves to show up whether it's exciting or not. Let me tell you about Marcus Tillman, a grocery store clerk from North Carolina. Marcus wasn't born into wealth. He worked long hours stocking shelves, and he barely made enough to cover his bills. But he had a goal. He wanted to become financially free before 40. And more importantly, he was willing to build the habits that would take him there. He started small, reading 20 minutes a day about investing. He opened a separate savings account and made automatic deposits every paycheck. He packed his lunch instead of eating out. While his coworkers spent their evenings watching TV, Marcus was learning how money worked. He disciplined himself to track his spending, live below his means, and reinvest everything he could. After several years, he bought his first rental property, then another, and another. By his late 30s, Marcus had replaced his job income with passive income and walked away from the grocery store with his head held high. Now here's the lesson. Marcus didn't win because he got lucky. He won because his habits were consistent with his vision. And that's a formula you can apply too. If you say you want something big, then your daily actions must reflect that. You can't expect million-dollar results from minimum effort routines. So take inventory. What are your habits doing for you? Are they helping you grow or keeping you stuck? Start building routines that reinforce your goals. Wake up earlier, read every day, track your money, set weekly targets, plan your schedule. Start small, but stay consistent. Success doesn't come from one giant leap. It comes from 1,000 daily steps in the right direction. Remember, you don't decide your future. You decide your habits, and your habits decide your future. Train them wisely. Number 5. Learn from the wealthy, not the loud. In this age of noise, everyone has an opinion. You'll hear advice from friends, coworkers, social media influencers, even strangers at the coffee shop. But here's the question. Are they qualified to guide you? Are they living the life you want to live? Because if not, you'd better be careful about who you're listening to. The wrong advice, even if it's well-intentioned, can send you years in the wrong direction. If you want to think like a millionaire, you must learn from those who've earned the right to teach. People who've built something. People who've failed and gotten back up. People who understand that success is more than a motivational quote. It's a process, a strategy, and a mindset. Don't be fooled by volume. Just because someone speaks the loudest doesn't mean they speak the truth. Let's talk about Chris Gardner. You might know his story from The Pursuit of Happiness. Chris wasn't always on Wall Street. He was once homeless, sleeping in subway bathrooms with his son, broke, hungry, and invisible to most of the world. But Chris didn't listen to the voices that told him it was over. He didn't take advice from the crowd. He focused on people who were where he wanted to be. He observed how they talked, how they carried themselves, how they made decisions. He found a mentor and a stockbroker, learned everything he could, and took action. Eventually, he rose from homelessness to become a successful entrepreneur and multimillionaire. That transformation didn't come from hype. It came from proximity to the right information and the right people. Chris wasn't concerned with being flashy. He was focused on getting better. And that's a lesson for all of us. So here's the rule. Study results, not noise. If someone gives you advice, ask yourself, have they achieved what I'm after? If not, thank them politely and move on. Seek mentors, not entertainers. Look for people who've done it, built businesses, invested wisely, managed time well, raised strong families, overcome setbacks. Success leaves clues, and those clues are often found in books, interviews, and conversations with people who have quietly mastered their craft. Don't just watch how successful people spend their money. Watch how they think about money, how they solve problems, how they handle pressure, how they stay disciplined when no one's watching. One good piece of wisdom from the right source can change your entire direction. But it requires humility to admit you don't know everything, and discipline to seek out the right voices. Remember, the loudest person in the room isn't always the wisest. Tune out the noise, turn up your awareness, and start learning from people whose lives speak louder than their words. That's how you start thinking like the wealthy. Number 6, stay humble, but think big. One of the finest qualities you can develop on your journey to success is humility. But don't mistake humility for small thinking. Humility doesn't mean you shrink yourself or lower your standards. It simply means you remain grounded while keeping your eyes on something greater. The person who thinks big but stays humble is a force to be reckoned with, confident, focused, and hungry to grow. Some people confuse arrogance with ambition, but they're not the same. Arrogance says, I already know it all. Ambition says, I'm willing to learn more. Arrogance talks. Humility listens. And the ones who reach the top are almost always the ones who never stopped learning, never stopped improving, and never believed they were above the fundamentals. Let me introduce you to Elizabeth Hart, a widowed mother of 2 from Minnesota. After her husband passed, she was left with debt, a mortgage, and no clear direction. She could have easily given up or blamed life for her losses. But Elizabeth had a dream. She wanted to start a home bakery. Not because it sounded glamorous, but because she was good at it, and she wanted to give her kids a better future. She started small, one oven, a few loyal customers, and a notebook full of handwritten recipes. She studied successful entrepreneurs, attended workshops, and humbly asked for advice from others in her community. As her reputation grew, so did her confidence. In just a few years, she expanded into a storefront and eventually turned her bakery into a thriving business with several employees. But here's the best part. Elizabeth never stopped giving credit to others, never stopped saying thank you, and never stopped learning. That's the mindset. Think big enough to stretch yourself, but stay humble enough to stay teachable. The world responds well to people who have a quiet confidence. You don't need to brag. You don't need to broadcast your every move. Let your work speak. Let your discipline do the talking, and let your results shine on their own. People are drawn to those who are both strong and sincere. Those who can lead without ego and succeed without stepping on others. When you're humble, you're open to better ideas. When you think big, you push past limitations. Combine the two, and you'll grow faster than anyone who thinks they already have it all figured out. So yes, dream big, stretch your goals, expect more from yourself. But as you climb, keep your feet firmly on the ground. Be polite, be grateful, keep learning. Because the higher you rise, the more important it becomes to remember what got you there. Stay humble, but never shrink your vision. That's how you grow into someone truly powerful. Number 7, build skills that create value. If you want to earn more, you've got to become more. That's the rule. You don't get paid for the hour, you get paid for the value you bring to that hour. And that value comes from skill, not just effort, not just good intentions. Skill. It's your ability to solve problems, to create solutions, to bring something to the table that others cannot easily replace. In the marketplace, you don't get what you need, you get what you deserve. And what you deserve is based on what you can do. That's why wealthy people are often those who have developed rare, useful, and transferable skills. They've made themselves valuable, not because someone handed them a title, but because they invested in learning things that matter. Take Howard Schultz, the man who transformed Starbucks from a small chain of coffee shops into a global brand. Schultz didn't start out with privilege. He grew up in public housing, worked odd jobs, and paid his way through school. But he studied business, customer service, branding, and human behavior. He understood people, and because of those skills, he took a simple product, coffee, and turned it into a billion-dollar experience. That didn't happen by chance. It happened because he focused on building skills that created real, measurable value. Skills that turned an ordinary moment, buying coffee, into an emotional experience that customers would pay extra for over and over again. So here's the question. What are your skills worth? Are they helping you stand out, solve problems, and move forward? If not, it's time to sharpen them or develop new ones. Don't rely on talent alone. Talent might get you in the room, but skill is what keeps you there. And here's the beautiful part. Skills can be learned. You can learn to write. You can learn to sell. You can learn to negotiate, lead, analyze, code, design, invest, whatever your industry demands. You don't need to be the best in the world. You just need to get good enough that people notice, then better, then irreplaceable. Start by asking, what problems do people pay to have solved? Then learn how to solve one of them. Become excellent at it. Read books, take courses, get feedback, practice deliberately. Your income is directly linked to the value you produce. The more valuable you are to the world, the more rewards will flow your way, financial, relational, and professional. So don't just work hard, work smart. Become a student of your craft, be obsessed with getting better. And remember, your future isn't fixed. It's upgradable, just like your skill set. The millionaire mindset doesn't chase money. It chases value because it knows money follows value every single time. Number 8, make your money work harder than you do. If you work hard for your money, but your money isn't working for you, then you're stuck in a one-way relationship. It's time to flip the script. Because wealthy people understand something most never learn. Money is a powerful servant when you learn to put it to work. Every dollar you earn is a tiny employee. The question is, are you putting those employees to work, or are you just spending them the moment they show up? You see, earning money is only part of the equation. The next step is learning how to multiply it. And that's where investing comes in. Whether it's stocks, real estate, a small business, or other income-producing assets. Wealth is built by converting earned income into passive income. That means money that continues to flow even when you're not on the clock. Let me introduce you to George Alvarez, a retired fireman from Ohio. George didn't come from wealth. He worked a government job, raised 3 kids, and lived a simple life. But George had one advantage. He learned early that saving alone wouldn't build the future he wanted. So he started small. A portion of every paycheck went into index funds. He read about dividends, compound interest, and long-term investing. While others were busy upgrading cars, George was upgrading his financial future. Over time, those tiny investments began to grow. Slowly at first, then faster. By the time George retired, his investment income covered more than his living expenses. He didn't have to touch his pension. He didn't have to downsize. Why? Because he made his money work harder than he did. And that's the mindset shift we all need. It's not about being a stock market expert or buying risky things you don't understand. It's about intentionality. It's about using every dollar to move you forward instead of keeping you stuck. If your money isn't multiplying, it's being wasted. Or at the very least, underemployed. Start where you are. Learn the basics. Budget wisely. Build an emergency fund. Then start investing consistently. Even if it's small. Let compounding do the heavy lifting. Over time, your money will gain momentum. And here's the key. When your money starts making money, that's when you begin to experience financial freedom. Millionaires don't just earn, they leverage. They understand that wealth isn't about working more hours. It's about making smarter decisions with what you've already earned. So don't spend your whole life trading time for money. Build assets, buy your freedom. And most of all, treat every dollar like a seed. Plant it wisely, and it will grow into something much bigger than what you started with. Your job is to earn, but your responsibility is to multiply. That's how you step into the next level of wealth. That's how you make your money work, so you don't have to forever. Number 9. Guard your time like it's gold. Time is the currency of life. Once you spend it, you don't get it back. And yet, most people treat time like it's endless, scrolling, drifting, procrastinating, wasting minutes as if they don't matter. But they do. In fact, they matter more than money, because money can be earned, lost, and earned again. Time, once it's gone, is gone forever. If you want to build a millionaire mindset, you've got to start treating your time like gold. That means protecting it, investing it, and using it with purpose. You've got to become a master of your calendar, not a slave to other people's agendas. You've got to stop saying yes to things that drain you and start saying no to anything that doesn't move you toward your vision. Just look at Oprah Winfrey. She's one of the most recognizable and successful figures in the world. But do you know one of the secrets behind her success? She is fiercely intentional about her time. Every meeting, every project, every commitment must align with her values and goals. She once said, "You get in life what you have the courage to ask for." But what she didn't always say out loud is that it also depends on what you make time for. Her discipline with time is part of what made her empire possible. You don't need to be a billionaire to apply the same principle. Start with your day. How much time are you giving to distractions, to people who drain your energy, to habits that add no value? What if you reclaimed just 1 hour a day and redirected it toward your goals? That's 365 hours a year. That's over 9 full work weeks. And most people give it away without thinking twice. Millionaires don't fill their schedules. They focus them. They prioritize high-value activities. They block out time to think, read, plan, and execute. They delegate what doesn't require their energy and automate what doesn't require their presence. They understand the difference between being busy and being productive. And that difference is everything. So if you want to change your results, change your calendar, schedule your growth, plan your priorities, build in time for your health, your learning, your goals, and your rest. Don't let your life be a reaction to everything around you. Take control of your hours, and you take control of your future. Because here's the truth. How you spend your time is how you spend your life. If you want a wealthy life, start by managing your minutes. Time is gold, but only for those who know how to use it. Guard it, invest it, and watch what happens. Number 10. Surround yourself with builders, not drifters. You're not just shaped by your habits. You're shaped by your environment. And the most powerful part of your environment is the people you surround yourself with. If you spend enough time with people who complain, coast, or make excuses, you'll eventually talk like them, think like them, and act like them. But if you spend time with builders, people who are growing, striving, improving, then you rise with them. You've probably heard the saying, You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. It's not just a quote, it's a principle. Your standards rise or fall depending on who you associate with. That's why building a millionaire mindset isn't just about internal change. It's also about external alignment. You need people around you who challenge your thinking, encourage your growth, and believe in your vision, even when it's not yet visible. Let me tell you about Leo Bryant, a mechanic from Alabama. Leo worked in the same auto shop for years. He was dependable, skilled, and hardworking, but financially stuck. He spent most evenings at the local bar with old buddies who complained about life, blamed the government, and made fun of anyone who tried to change. One day, Leo met a customer who owned several car dealerships. The man struck up a conversation, gave Leo a book, and said, "You've got more in you than this." That one seed planted a spark. Leo started reading. He changed his schedule, reduced time with the bar crowd, and started attending business networking groups on weekends. He learned about sales, finance, and entrepreneurship. A few years later, Leo opened a mobile car service business. It wasn't easy, but he kept growing and eventually turned it into a 6-figure operation. Not because he was the smartest in the room, but because he changed rooms. That's the power of proximity. You can't become wealthy in thought while soaking in environments built on limitation. You need to be around people who stretch your expectations, people who are building something of their own, people who ask better questions and pursue better answers. And that might mean outgrowing certain relationships. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you abandon people. It means you protect your mindset. You can still love your old friends, but you don't have to follow their patterns. You can still be kind to everyone, but you must be intentional about who gets your time and energy. Seek out mentors. Join growth-minded communities. Surround yourself with doers. Get in rooms where your goals feel small. Not because you're weak, but because others are dreaming even bigger. Your environment will either fuel your potential or drain it. So choose wisely, because the people you walk with today will influence where you arrive tomorrow. Walk with builders, and you'll become one too. Number 11. Don't avoid discomfort. Use it. Discomfort is not the enemy. It's the signal. It's the signal that something is stretching, changing, or growing. Most people spend their lives running from discomfort. They avoid it, numb it, distract themselves from it. But those who develop a millionaire mindset understand something different. Discomfort is the doorway to transformation. If it's uncomfortable, it probably matters. And if it matters, it's worth doing. We live in a world that worships comfort, quick fixes, easy wins, instant results. But real growth, it's found in the gym at 6 a.m., in the late nights building your dream, in the awkward first attempts and the scary first steps. Growth lives in the places most people are unwilling to go. And that's why few people find success. Not because they're incapable, but because they're unwilling to be uncomfortable long enough to break through. Take Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example. He didn't just become a champion bodybuilder or a Hollywood star or a governor by accident. He sought discomfort on purpose. As a teenager, he trained relentlessly, lifting until his muscles failed, visualizing his future when no one else believed in it. He moved to a new country without fluent English, faced rejection, ridicule, and setbacks. But he leaned into the discomfort. He didn't let it stop him. He let it shape him. And that mindset carried him into success after success across entirely different industries. You see, discomfort isn't a wall, it's a compass. It tells you where to go. If public speaking makes you nervous, that's exactly what you should practice. If managing money feels overwhelming, that's where your education needs to begin. If selling your ideas feels awkward, that's the muscle that needs building. Discomfort is not punishment. It's preparation. The millionaire mindset doesn't run from tough conversations, tough decisions, or tough habits. It embraces them, because behind every uncomfortable moment is a stronger version of you waiting to emerge. The question is, will you go through it? Start reframing discomfort. Instead of saying, "This is hard," start saying, "This is where I grow." Instead of avoiding it, lean into it, not recklessly, but intentionally. Face one fear, do one thing that stretches you. Stay with the feeling long enough to realize it's not there to destroy you. It's there to develop you. And here's what happens. The more discomfort you're willing to face, the more confidence you build. You start seeing yourself differently. You stop flinching at new challenges. You walk into rooms you used to avoid. And before long, you've created a life that others admire. Not because it was easy, but because you were willing to do the hard things they weren't. So stop waiting for the path to feel good. Start following the path that makes you better. That's how you grow your income, your impact, and your identity. Use the discomfort. Let it shape your future, because it's not there to block you, it's there to build you. Number 12. Build a mindset that outlasts any economy. Markets go up, and markets go down. Opportunities come, and sometimes they disappear. The economy shifts, trends change, and circumstances evolve. But one thing remains constant: the mindset you bring to the table. If your success is tied only to what's happening outside, then you'll always live on shaky ground. But if your mindset is built on principles, not conditions, you become the kind of person who thrives, no matter what's going on in the world. The truth is, most people build their confidence on external things: a paycheck, a booming market, a stable job, or the latest headlines. But when those things wobble, and they will, they fall apart. Why? Because they never develop the inner stability to match the outer chaos. But those with a millionaire mindset, they think differently. They stay calm in storms. They adapt quickly. They don't panic. They pivot. Because their strength isn't in the conditions, it's in their character. Let me tell you about Janet Fields, a public school teacher from Pennsylvania. During a major economic downturn, she watched colleagues panic, sell off their assets, and stop investing. But Janet stayed the course. She had spent years educating herself about money, mindset, and long-term strategy. She lived below her means, built up an emergency fund, and diversified her investments. While others reacted emotionally, she made decisions based on principle, not fear. And by the time the economy recovered, Janet wasn't just back on her feet, she was ahead. Janet didn't have insider knowledge or a high income. She had a strong mindset. She didn't let the economy dictate her future. She let her habits and discipline do that. That's the kind of stability you want to build. A mindset that's not easily shaken. A mindset that plans for winters, but prepares to plant in spring. So how do you build that kind of mindset? First, study timeless principles. Don't just chase trends. Learn how money really works. Understand long-term investing. Learn to manage emotions. Know how to build and keep momentum. Practice patience. Prepare for downturns before they come. And most importantly, build yourself, not just your bank account. You've got to be the kind of person who can walk through uncertainty with clarity. The kind of person who still saves when others are spending, who still creates when others are complaining, who still believes when others are panicking. That's not luck. That's mental preparation. That's emotional strength. Remember, external success is a reflection of internal growth. And the stronger your mindset, the more consistent your results, regardless of what's happening around you. So ask yourself, are you building a mindset that can weather storms? If the answer is no, start today. Because markets may rise and fall, but your mindset can remain steady. And in the long run, it's not the smartest or richest who win. It's the most resilient. Build that resilience, and you'll always find a way forward. We've covered a lot. 12 foundational principles that can transform the way you think, act, and ultimately live. But let me tell you something important. A millionaire mindset isn't about how much money you have in your pocket right now. It's about how you see the world, how you make decisions, how you respond to challenges, how you prepare for opportunity before it knocks. It's about becoming the kind of person who creates wealth, not just financially, but in character, influence, freedom, and contribution. Think about what we've discussed. You start by deciding that you deserve more. You define what wealth means to you, and take full responsibility for where you are. You build habits that match your vision. You learn from people who've done what you want to do. You think big, stay humble, and focus on building skills that actually matter. You make your money work, protect your time, and surround yourself with people who lift you. You embrace discomfort. And finally, you build a mindset that stands strong no matter what the world throws at you. That's not just a blueprint for wealth. It's a blueprint for freedom. But here's the most important part. None of this works unless you do. These ideas are powerful, but they don't move on their own. You have to move. You have to take action. Not someday, but today. Don't let this be another thing you heard, felt inspired by, and then forgot. Let it be the moment something inside you shifted. Let it be the day you stopped waiting and started building. The road to a millionaire mindset isn't paved with luck. It's built with discipline, vision, and belief. One decision at a time. You don't have to know every step. You just have to take the next one. Read the book, wake up earlier, cancel the distraction. Start the investment. Make the call. Take the course. Reclaim your time. Raise your standards. Because the truth is, everything you want is already within reach. But only if you're willing to rise above average thinking. Only if you're willing to commit to the process. Only if you're ready to stop living below your potential and start designing a life that reflects your purpose. So here's the final question. Are you going to think like everyone else and stay where you are? Or are you going to adopt the mindset that separates the successful from the stuck? The choice is yours. But remember, mindset comes first. Money comes later. Get your thinking right, and the rest will follow. Now go build the future that's been waiting for you all along.